Howdy y'all, and welcome to Experience Virtual Reality! Today, yeah, you guessed it, I'm gonna do a review of the Developer Kit 2. Woohoo! Developer Kit 2! For developers and whatnot. So, the first question you might ask me, Stefan, how is the pixel grid in this device? My heart is so warm that you asked me that. Yeah, of course. Let's see. Here we have a simulation of how the pixel grid, how the pixels looks like in the Developer Kit 2, and you can see that the resolution is blew away. So you're thinking, wow, this gotta be good, right? No, it is not good. And people are talking about pixels in the Rift, and it doesn't mean that you are looking at big squares like if you were playing, I don't know, the old Doom, or you're playing. It's not like you're gonna have Minecraft graphics in your Oculus games. You're gonna play very pretty games in the Oculus DK2. Where the graphics are totally awesome and whatnot, and if you were playing it on your 2D monitor, it would just look so great. But in the Developer Kit 2, you are looking at the same graphics, but it is a much bigger picture, and it looks like in front of that beautiful picture there is a grid of pixels. The pixels are aligned in a grid in front of the image you are watching. That's how it really looks like. In dark games, you're not noticing it as much, because in dark colors, they're not gonna shine through as much as they're gonna do in a light game with lots of bright light. Then you're definitely gonna notice that pixel grid. The first dark game I played, I didn't notice the pixels at all. If I try to notice for them, I can find them. But when I'm playing a game or a demo where the colors are dark and they're not much bright light, then I'm not gonna notice any of those irritating pixel grid. But if you're gonna play something that is light, lots of bright light, then you are definitely gonna notice the pixel grid. So this is how it looks like in the Developer Kit 2. And the Developer Kit 1, it was even worse. Then it was some big ass, sorry for the expression, but some huge pixels in those pixel grids, right? You can probably see it right now. Doesn't look good. It's even harder in the Developer Kit 1 to read text. Pixel grid, there are more pixels, so the pixels in the pixel grid are smaller and less noticeable, but you're definitely gonna notice them. And they have a simulation of 4K, which is much better, as you can see. Oh my god, and that is what I have calculated, that it is most likely to be the least of resolution they're gonna put into the consumer version. So it's probably gonna look like this, and it is much harder to notice the pixel grid. And at low persistence, it looks even better. But can we see pixels? Of course we can. Anyways, they have a simulation of a consumer version where they guessed the resolution would be this, and if it is correct that we don't know actually what the resolution is in the Crystal Bay prototype. We don't know what the resolution was in that, but we do know that it was 90 Hz and that it was much prettier. The resolution was much better compared to the Developer Kit 2, but they wouldn't say what it was. That's saying that there was two displays in it instead of one, where in this Developer Kit 2 it is one display for two eyes. So not that good compared to if you have two displays at the same resolution, but one for each eye, then you're gonna have twice the resolution. And that's why I think that it's gonna be at least 4K on the consumer version, and it's probably gonna look really good compared to the Developer Kit 2. How about the Developer Kit 2? I have used it. Do I get motion sickness? Yes or no? The first day I got really motion sick after just 15 minutes, and quite literally I had to throw up later that day. But it didn't come. It didn't come right after taking the Rift off. But I got really sick. I was running up and downstairs and running around, really excited to see everything. Right? It's like, but I got really motion sick that day. But I have gotten used to it. I don't get that much motion sick anymore. I have to play for more than a half hour before I can even feel that I'm getting a little queasy. So it's a lot better. I haven't used it for more than an hour, so I haven't had any problems with it getting hot. I am using it, some days I'm using it like almost all day, but I'm putting it on, doing something, then taking it off, and sometimes I turn it off. Other times I forget to turn it off, and then I put it on a few minutes later, so it really doesn't matter if I turn it on or off, right? And never had any problems with heating, and I have never had any problems with fogginess on the lenses or anything. Not like that. But if you look at it, let's see. Okay, maybe you can see it a little bit here. It's, of course, very difficult because it is dark, but in here there are not this soft foam to protect your nose. It is hard plastic. It looks like in the pictures of the consumer version, this foam is gonna be down here too, all around. And it looks like there's gonna be much more space for your nose in here. It's not gonna have this these hard edges. It looks like there's gonna be a lot more room for your nose in the in the consumer version, which is good. When I'm wearing this for long periods of time, I can definitely feel it on my nose and it hurts. Then I don't have a small nose, so if I had a small nose, maybe I wouldn't have that problem. But there's always a cloth you can put on, and then it will take that away. So that's what I'm doing from now on. When I know I'm gonna do something for more than just a few minutes, then I'm putting a cloth on it to prevent my nose from hurting. Okay. So my iMac, it has a GTX 790M, so mobile graphic cards. With 4 gigs of RAM for the video card, and it runs almost all the demos and games I have tried at 90 frames per 75 frames per second. Of course, it has a 75 frame refresh rate, hertz, the display, so can't go higher than that. On the consumer version, we're gonna have at least 90 hertz, so you're gonna have to run. Actually, you don't have to run the games at 90 frames per second. You can still run them at 75 frames per second if that's all your computer can do, right? But it's gonna be two displays. Got two displays at twice the resolution. It's gonna run both displays at 90 hertz. So I'm thinking it's gonna be the consumer version is gonna be for hardcore gaming rigs only. That's what I'm thinking. I can't play all the games on this one with 75 frames per second. But I can run most of them at 75 frames per second. And I don't know what happens if I put on the consumer version. But I'm thinking that my computer is not going to run many games at any decent frames per second. It is an iMac, and it's not meant for gaming at all. It's meant for other things. But it can be used for gaming, and I can't game in this. Most games runs perfectly fine, especially in Windows. apparently there are better drivers in Windows. When I play games in Mac OS X with the Developer Kit 2, I get mostly 60 frames per second, where if I play the same game, I get 75 in Windows. So that's weird. Well, that's the way it is. Windows. Gonna use that. So why did I get the Developer Kit 2? Why didn't I wait? Actually, I waited as long as I could. I began to develop a simulation called Experience Being a Baby. And I found myself at a crossroad. I really needed to know how the scales of everything I was doing was. So I had to get the Developer Kit 2, and I did post my proof of concept on Oculus Share because I needed people's feedback to tell me, is the scale okay? And of course it wasn't. And when I got my Developer Kit 2, I could definitely see the scale was totally off. So it looked good on my display, but on the Rift, scale is totally wrong. But I'm almost done fixing the scaling of things, and I've also been making new rooms and stuff. Anyways, so yeah, so is there gonna be pixel grid in the consumer version? Probably. You're probably gonna see the pixel grid, and the field of view in Developer Kit 2 is like 90 degrees like this. It feels like you're walking around like this, and that's your field of view. In the Crescent Bay prototype, it was 110 degrees, so that's about this, I would expect. And it's gonna be probably at least 110, and I don't think it's gonna be more than 110 degrees of field of view in the consumer version, at least not the first one. So you're still gonna notice that, but it's gonna be much better for gaming than this, right? Much better for gaming than this, but I know it's fun. It's fun using this one, and it doesn't really bother you that much when you're playing a game. Only at first it's like, oh my god, but when you're playing the game, you forget about pixel grid, and you forget about the damn small field of view, because it's much better than looking at the display anyways. So I think the consumer version is going to be really good for gamers with hardcore gaming rigs. For people with normal computers, it's probably not going to run very well. So if you definitely feel like you need virtual reality and you know you're not going to spring for a gaming computer, then you should probably consider buying the Developer Kit 2, because that's going to run the games twice as easy. Just saying. Only one display, and it's going to run them at a lower frame rate because it has display running the frames, turning them on and off at 75 Hertz instead of 90 Hertz. Of course, at 90 Hertz you can still play a game even though your computer can only handle maybe 60 frames per second. Then you're gonna get 60 frames per second, and it's gonna maybe seem like it's lagging a little bit more. That might make you queasy. I don't know. Some people get queasy at 60 frames per second in the Rift, others don't. I know my girlfriend, she gets queasy just sitting down in a sitting down game where you're sitting in a chair and just looking around without walking. So for her, she would definitely need 90 frames per second to stop being queasy. For me, looking around, it's not a problem. So 75 frames per second is plenty for me. 60 frames per second, I find that that's a little irritating looking around. So I need more than 60 frames per second in the Rift. In games for my 2D display, I don't need 60 frames per second. It's weird, right? 30 frames per second, that's fine. It doesn't seem like it's lagging, not to my eyes. But in the Rift, I need above 60 frames per second, or it's gonna seem like it's lagging. So that's how it is. So my advice to you is, if you definitely need virtual reality and you are gonna spring for a hardcore gaming computer, wait for the consumer version. If not, don't wait. Just buy the developer kit too. It runs most demos on most computers, I would think. Unless you have an old computer, then forget about it. Forget about it. So thank y'all so much for watching my video, and big hugs to y'all, and y'all come back, you hear?